Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. Yeah, got a beautiful day going on here out in the upper garage working on the Lakota. The snow is melting. The Ford Trax 300 there is catching a quick suntan. A couple of things for folks who got to put these rigs back together again, or quite honestly, when you're taking them apart, you know, what kind of situations you can find yourself in, and timing and so forth like that. So let's go through this. First of all, to time. Well, let's start at the beginning. Let's pretend, for whatever reason, you took it apart and you were messing around in the head. In my case, I was doing that because I had to change a valve. When you put the head back together again, put the valves in, you know, put the valve keepers in and all that. Make sure the cam is lobes down, which means your cam followers are nice and loose, right? I have the adjusters off, which has them really nice and loose, but make sure your cam lobes are down. That's first of all. That makes life a lot easier. So when you're putting it together and you got to get the timing chain on there, and you have to get this gear on the notch on the cam, that your cam is pretty close in the right position, first of all. And second of all, as you're trying to move the cam, you're not fighting the valves. If the lobes are down, right, and they're kind of like that, quite honestly, they're nowhere near the valves. You got to turn them, you know, back around up to bother the valve. So it's pretty easy to rotate the cam. That's the first comment. Second comment is, if you look in that nice little hole there, and let's see if we can't get this lit up such that you can see. If you look in that hole there, you see the T with that little line on the on this point here, right? T means top dead center. And you see that little line being lined up there? That means the piston's at top dead center. And I also went through the trouble of getting the piston right at top dead center as I was fooling around with the timing chain. Now, with the lobes down, right, and your piston at top dead center, when you put the timing chain on, now it's just a matter of, in this case, I have a Lakota, right? You guys could see those timing marks there. I got a kind of shot. There it is. That KEF300. That's for the Lakota, and you see how that thing is going up. And if you continue to look, right, you will not only see that, but in the back, let me get the light in such a way that hopefully you can see it. See that top? See the way the line right there where the flashlight beam is aimed right at the zero in the top? That means everything is good, right? Once again, this is locked into the cam, right? This bolt is tight. This is locked into the cam, right? This line, where it says KEF300, and that line is aimed right in the back where you see the top. And as a matter of fact, I could get all the light in the, it's aimed right at the zero in the top, which is right where you want it, and that's a top dead center. To get this on here, what I had to do a couple of times is you kind of drop the sprocket down, and you kind of, you know, have a little bit of extra chain, and you move it this way, right, which kind of moves this mark that way. Or you kind of start on this side and you move it, right, one notch, one link at a time, and that kind of moves this thing this way. Once I got that at top dead center, right? And this all lined up right where I want it to be. Then I was very easily able to just kind of drop this down and move the cam around. Once again, there was no tension from the valves on it, and I was able to move the cam around such that I was able to pop this right on. So that was easy. So that's first of all. Second of all, I did obviously change the timing chain, and since I've done that, it is quite a bit tighter, and I don't even have the adjuster on it yet. I have the adjuster right, where did I put it? I put it, here it is. Here is the timing chain adjuster. And what happens is, you see the spring, right? The spring pushes in here, and what it does is it takes, there's kind of a shoe that rubs against this, and it pushes the shoe right up tight up against there like that, and it keeps things nice and tight. Now what I've done is I've loosened this screw. This whole thing slides out, and you actually want to be careful. There's a little roller bearing thing in there. So it slides out, and it's kind of a one-way thing. It could come out fairly easily, but it all doesn't slide in unless you take it all apart, slide the bearing all the way up on this, put it in, let it go, tighten the bolt with it all the way in. Should I loosen that bolt, this thing is going to stick out, right? And as it's sticking out, once again, through this hole, it'll push on the shoe, and the shoe helps guide the chain. It's got kind of a cutout in the shoe, channel in the shoe, such that if this is my chain, right, it kind of stays in the shoe, first of all, and secondly, it puts a little pressure on there, so the maximum amount of gear is on there, nice and tight. So I got it on there, and I'm all happy except for one small little item, and these head bolts. Well, there are 4 of these nice long head bolts, and they quite easily go into the back 2 holes, that one, and there's another one over here by my finger that you can't see. But then I got the front 2, or actually the ones I talked about first were the front 2, right? They're in the front of the bike, and these are the back 2, they're toward the back of the bike. And we can see I can't quite get by here. So this is one of those oh crap moments. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to very carefully have to take this bolt out again, move this away, right, which gives me the ability to tilt the head a little bit, and you could see I am so close to getting by there, but I just can't. So what I got to do is kind of tilt it, get this one and the other bolt drop down. Then I'll put this all back on and put those bolts in. That's one of the problems with not pulling the engine. You can find yourself fighting some of this stuff, and you know, you just gotta relax, allow yourself plenty of time, plenty of space. You know, make sure you're not hungry or cranky or stupid. Make sure that, you know, you don't have your dog biting on you while you're working on this, or your girlfriend, wife, significant other in your ear bothering you. You just gotta like be one with the bike and work on it and relax and put it together. And I deliberately did that. I'm deliberately taking, if this thing takes 3 days to put together, fine, it takes 3 days. You guys are going to get mighty bored with the videos, but it's going to take 3 days. Because I'd really like this to go together nice and clean. I kind of wire brushed and blew everything off the best I could. I, had that hole covered. I had that all taped up. So I kept it all as clean as I possibly could. That carburetor obviously has to come off and get a rebuild. So this thing is still a ways away from doing this. If I had to tell you how long it's going to take, let's assume that I knew it was a bad valve, and I had the valve right in my hot little hands, and I had the cutting compound and the suction cup thing that you kind of rub through your hands like you're making a fire with sticks, right? If I had all that right in my hands, sitting right there on a workbench, because this is what I do every day, it probably took me a couple of hours to get the engine apart, to get all the plastic off, the carburetor out of the way and all that other stuff. Probably to get this head, this cylinder head, into my hands. Probably took me at least a couple of hours, right? Plastic off. You want to throw a quick troubleshooting in there. You don't want to just pull the head off, right? You want to make sure that the valve is leaking by with the cylinder leak back tester and all that trivia. So once you figure out what's wrong, you get the head off. You're looking at least a couple of hours. Once you do that, once again, I kind of fumbled around here for a while, but let's just pretend, no, I'm going to do a cut and splice on the tape. On the timing chain, you're probably looking to get the timing chain sorted out. Probably took me another couple of hours, right? Because I very carefully hooked the wire to both ends of it, and then when I broke it, I swung one end out of the way, the other one end out of the way, and hooked the new chain onto the old one and fed it through and brought it around and then put it all back together again. That was at least another couple of hours. Okay, and to get this far, and I'm about, I have to go backwards again. I wouldn't be going backwards again. I probably have, to clean it up and get this far, I probably have over another 2 hours into it. And I'm saying it's going to take me probably another 2 to 4 hours by the time I put it all back together again, rebuild the carburetor and everything else. So, and once again, what I tried to do with that estimate I just gave you, I tried to remove a lot of the screw-up time, right? I tried to assume my tools were sitting right here. I had a bench sitting right here. I'm trying to assume, I don't have to retake apart and put back together again. That's probably going to take me 15, 20 minutes, a half hour. Right? So you're probably looking at this valve job incident, right? You still got oil change to do on this thing, filter, and all the other stuff. If you're looking at 10 hours, what does one pay for shop time? If you're paying somebody $50 an hour on shop time, even if you got this bike for free, you got about $100 worth of parts into it, and at $50 an hour, you got about $500 worth of shop time into it. So you're at $600 on a bike. I don't know what you're worth running with the condition of the plastic and the seat and everything else. Let's call it $1,000 bike. Remember, guys, I also had to put a tube in the front tire. The tires are okay. Not great, not horrible. I don't know. So one has to be careful. And I'm only thinking somewhere around $50 an hour shop time. If you want to move that toward $100 an hour, even if you cut the shop time down, because at $100 an hour, let's say he's Mr. Super Duper Mechanic, and he's able to cut the shop time in half and have it apart and back together again, including all the plastics in 5 hours. Let's say he's really good, or she's really good. Maybe very small fingers work faster than my big fat ones. You're still, you know. tying a lot of money up in this bike if you're not doing the work yourself. So my comment is, y'all want to learn how to do this. You want to learn how to do your own timing chains and valve jobs and all that. The timing chain wasn't too expensive, $25, give or take a foot and a half. The valve was like another $20. The tube was like $20. There's some gaskets in there. I think the set was $35 or something like that. So, you know, call it $100 in parts. I still got a pop for a battery on this thing. And by the way, I haven't fired this thing up yet. I mean, this all could be for naught. It might fire up with an engine knock. By the way, that would make me cranky. Before I put too much time into it, though, I did try to rock the crank and see what the engine felt like to make sure it wasn't, you know, I wasn't feeling bad things. And even after I get all that sorted out, she's got kind of a shift problem. A no shifter problem. So I got to put this back together again too. I think, as a matter of fact, it's from the way it feels when I'm moving things, this might be in gear because it's fighting me a little bit. All right, folks. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Folks, I need you all to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and I need you to get out there and enjoy all your days. Take care now, folks.